So, when we spoke the first time, it was a fantastic conversation. I was super bullish on you guys and what you're doing, and you kind of talked about this plan leading into the next plan, and some goals and stuff like that that you guys have together, and everything else. But I wanted to know, you're doing something that doesn't really exist in the space and everything else, and you know, typically things like this is that this format is good. I was able to listen to some of the previous ones that you guys have done. I love this concept and everything else. And at some point, lightning will strike, right? The right person will be there to listen, will give the visibility and everything else. But
Right.
as you guys have been through this growth process and everything else, what keeps you guys going? Because ultimately, I know that sometimes you can look at this and go, we've talked about time and getting value for your time and everything else. As you guys have built this out and you've done this format and you've interviewed these people and everything else, what kind of is the thing that keeps you going, to continue knowing that at some point, this thing could be way bigger than it is now or whatever else. I think about other podcasts now that I listen to that, have 8 million, 9 million
Yeah.
people listening to them and subscribing and everything else. And that right, the goal is to make this thing as big and successful as possible.
Sure.
Or at least I would assume it is.
Right.
Yeah.
But what is your motivation to keep doing this? Because I've taken 3+ hours of your time now, and what do you get out of it from the interview side?
That's a great
So,
question. I'll let Matty go
yeah.
first.
Sure. You used an example of Kobe Bryant shooting free throws when he was already a superstar. But I think what a lot of people forget is there was a time when nobody knew his name and he was still taking those free throws, right? And nobody else was watching. Nobody was calling their friends saying, come over to the university. Kobe Bryant's here taking free throws. He was probably out at some court somewhere. And he was just doing it by himself. You know what I mean? He was getting reps in. But he saw where he was going to be. He knew there was a vision there. And that vision is what carried him through, because you see, it's easy when people are telling their friends about the fact that you're doing free throws and people want to show up just to watch you practice, right? It's difficult beforehand. And I've always believed in you got to put in the work. There's a seed time and there's a harvest time. The farmer does a lot of work and there's nothing to show for it. And I just truly believe that the seeds that we're planting with this are going to produce a really good harvest in the right way. And so I put in the work and do the reps and have these conversations. One, I enjoy it, and two, because I know what we're planting, right? If you plant corn, you get corn, and you get corn in abundance. And I know what we're planting, and I'm excited to get it in abundance.
Love that answer. I will layer on what Matty said. Absolutely. But I've said this story a couple times, and I say this saying a lot. Everyone in this world that has a beating heart and blood going through them has a superpower. I am convinced. Whether you find that superpower throughout your lifetime is up to, your growth, what you experience, and if you do truly find that and figure out kind of who defines you. I unfortunately came through that through a series of very strong health problems. Mental illness stuff. It was not pretty, right? But I feel insanely fortunate that I was able to look in the mirror. And we actually talked about this earlier on. You mentioned it a couple of times. And have the serious conversation, the uncomfortable conversation that not a lot of people have, to figure out, hey, I need to work on myself. But also I got insane clarity coming out of that at what I'm really good at and what I am passionate about and love. And when I found NFTs, it even layered on more of my conviction of midlife, me, Matty, and building wealth together, not just in the NFT space, but in the future. And it was because it was for the first time in my year, I have a 20+ design advertising career. I am outgoing, outspoken like you, Helen. And so that my superpower is to connect with people genuinely in a short amount of time. With Matty, he learned that through sales as well. I think I, naturally have just been like that. You know, the charismatic part of me has always been there, and I think it comes from I attribute a lot of that to my mom, and just how amazing she was as a kid. The energy that comes out of her is unbelievable, and I think a lot of that is passed on to me. But I found NFTs and I was like, holy shit, like this is it. My 20+ year career of design that I didn't really have like a future game plan for has merged with my superpower, and I can help build a company with my friend within the NFT space because it's art and community. It's the two. One of my superpowers in a 20+ year career in something that's a part of this this ecosystem. And then I knew, I was like, shit, man, like this is the beginning of the empire. And what I've learned over the time, once we figured this out and we kind of doubled down on, you know, a stormy Sunday night where Matt and I are playing Diablo 3 on our Switches across the country from each other and decide midlife crisis. I just got out of mine. Matt was going into him, but let's start a company and name it that. I love this, man. What keeps me going is knowing that, dude, you know, it's not your themes and the things that you have said to us. They're common themes, man. They're common themes of being kind, paying it forward, showing people that you care, never ending pursuit of learning. Those themes are pretty proven for successful people. We actually have a pretty solid formula of how to be successful. But what's interesting is how people get there. It comes in so many ways, and it's unlimited. And when I do have a moment where I'm like, what the shit are we doing? I do think to myself of like, what I'm doing is, I know there's a million other ways for us to say the same thing, or your background has resonated with somebody in this chat that will not resonate well with our next guest Thursday night, right? And it's just that unlimited pursuit of learning, and shit that you've said tonight, I'm going to apply to our
100%.
midlife brand. I mean, dude, we've talking to you, and 3 to 4 days ago, we talked to the guys that own the IP for National Lampoons. If you told me a year and a half ago that I'd be having a stream, double-digit people watching me in chat, I'm talking to the guy that owns National Lampoon, like not just Christmas Vacation, Animal House, Spinal Tap, like a multi-decade brand that has insane IP, I would have just laughed at your face, right? And again, this is a long-winded way of saying exactly what Matty said. The journey, man. The journey is just, it's addicting.
Yeah. And you said yourself, Helen, you surround yourself with competitive, ambitious people, right? And they'll bring you up. And you know, we're doing this, and every week, here's what's happening, man. Our race time's getting better. You know, we don't win them all, but man, our time is getting better every single time.
Yeah.